Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Eagle Field here on the campus of Georgetown High School. I'm Wally Harmon alongside Jerry N. Harmon, our producer, camera, make it all work person behind the scenes, as we bring you Georgetown Eagle Baseball live here at the Central Texas First Pitch Classic, brought to you by B&N Sports, Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers in Easton. We thank you for coming and joining us. If you can't be here in the stands, we'll be live here all weekend long. Georgetown Baseball will come to you here on the SHN Sports Network, produced by First Responder Broadcasting, and we are proud to bring you Georgetown Baseball. Georgetown 1-0 on the young season as they went earlier at 1 p.m. and beat Lubbock Monterey, the Plainsmen, 4-2. Behind some good pitching behind the junior Hagen Tate, and then Tate Ritchie comes in to pitch 4 shutout innings of no-hit ball to close it out, and some bats came alive as Devin Peterson went 2 for 3 on the ball game. Also 2 for 3 in the game was Jackson Rainey with an RBI and a run scored. 1 for 3 was Fluitt with a stolen base and a run scored. 1 for 3, Caden Sykes hit 0 for 1, Cord Lawrence with a hit by pitch. And so things happened for this Georgetown team. Cord Lawrence also scored a run in that after he was hit by the pitch. Devin Peterson, the RBI triple to left center field to score Cord Lawrence for the first run of the ball game for Georgetown. And that got things scoring as Devin Peterson scored on the wild pitch to tie things up, and then it all went to the way of the Eagles to finish it out with 2 more runs in the fourth and close it out behind Tate Ritchie for the 4-2 win. Now we move on to the Rockwall Heath Hawks, and the battle is here. The 13th ranked preseason team in 6A baseball comes into the tournament. They're 1-0 now in the tournament, 1-1 overall. They lost 1-0 against Waxahachie last week in the tournament earlier today. They beat Churchill out of San Antonio 14-4, I believe it was. And now these two teams will do battle as they do every Thursday night of this tournament each year. They open it up, and man, what an opportunity. I got to start the broadcast with Shannon, the play-by-play voice of the Heath Hawks, and talk about just baseball in this tournament and what it means to have a team like Heath and their history, and Coach Harvey and what he does for high school baseball, and having them as one of kind of the host teams here at Georgetown. We love playing them, but it's a battle, and this young team for Georgetown will have a task at hand to take on these Heath Hawks here in game number 2 of the Central Texas First Pitch Classic. Georgetown, the home team, they'll be in the white pinstripes with the white hats with the blue talon on the front with a blue bill. The Heath Hawks in their off-white uniforms with red lettering, Heath and script lettering across the front, red numerals on the back. The red hats with white H on the front out of the first base dugout. Your Georgetown Eagles out of the home third base dugout for game number 2. Remember, tomorrow Georgetown will play at 1 and 7. They'll play Fort Bend Clements, and then at 7 o'clock they will play against Corpus Christi Carroll in head-to-head action tomorrow here at the Classic. We'll take a quick time out. Let's enjoy the national anthem. Join us as we bring you the national anthem, brought to you by the United States Air Force Band. we're back here live at Georgetown High School in Eagle Field. They finish up things on the field a little bit separate and different than we do here on the broadcast. And so we'll have a chance to bring you the starting lineups for the visitors. The Rockwall Heath High School Hawks come into the ballgame 1-1 on the year under the direction of head coach Greg Harvey, assistant coaches Steve Arias, R.J. Williams, and Ryan Randall. The starting lineup for the Heath Hawks tonight against Georgetown. Leading it off, number 14 and playing shortstop is Jabin Moore. Batting second and playing right field is number 8, Tyson Barkley. Batting third at first base, number 7, Caleb Hoover. Batting fourth, playing left field, number 22, Brady Ladisow. Batting fifth and playing third base, number 6, Hunter Bullen. Batting seventh and playing center field, number 1, Drew Smith. Batting seventh and playing second base, number 16, Alex Cooley. Batting eighth and designated hitter, number 10, Weston Thompson. And batting ninth, the catcher, number 45, is Preston Lewis. On the mound for the Heath Hawks is number 9, Landon Ammerman. So the Hawks will go with Moore, Barkley, and Hoover in the top third, Ladisow, Bullen, and Smith in the middle third, Cooley, Thompson, and Lewis in the bottom third. Now the starting lineup for your Georgetown Eagles. Head coach Jordan Vieira in his fifth season at the helm of the Georgetown Eagle program. Assistant coaches Chad Payne, David Durrell, James Key, and Frank Anzuris. Athletic trainer Chad Hennessy, Vanessa Rideau. Athletic director Jason Dean. Principals Brian Johnson. The superintendent of Georgetown ISD is Dr. Devin Panaville. The baseball operations, Jake Bachman, the junior. The stat girls, Ruby Hellman, the sophomore. Nicole Witt, the senior. Carter Campbell, the senior. And Grace King, a senior as well. Manager is the infamous Jared Frimmel. The starting lineup for your Georgetown Eagles tonight as selected by head coach Jordan Vieira. Leading off and playing center field, number 17, Devin Peterson. Peterson in the leadoff slot. Batting second at shortstop, number 6, Luke Holly. Batting third at catcher, number 16, Reese Herrera. Batting fourth, the right fielder, number 11, Jackson Rainey. Batting fifth at first base, number 12, David Fluitt. Batting sixth at second base, number 2, Talon Mighty Mouse Ball. Batting seventh, the designated hitter, number 13, Reese Seaman. Batting eighth, this left fielder, number 5, Tate Ritchie. Batting ninth, the third baseman, it is number 20, Jack Kiki. On the mound for your Georgetown Eagles to start up the ballgame is the lefty, number 10, Andrew Nations. So for the Georgetown Eagles, it'll be Peterson, Holly, and Herrera in the top third, Rainey, Fluitt, and Ball in the middle third, Seaman, Ritchie, and Kiki in the bottom third. Understand tonight, the first base camera is not as tight in as we would like it. Having some technical difficulties, of course, in the first day of the season. We'll get those worked out before tomorrow. Switch out cameras that we'll have to bring back in tomorrow for production, but we will get that straightened out. But at least it gives us a first base angle shot for tonight's ball game as well. On the mound for your Georgetown Eagles as he goes through warm-ups, he's the lefty, as 6'2", 190-pound senior number 10, Andrew Nations. He goes to work here in his first start of his senior season, with the Eagles 1-0 on the year after the 4-2 win over Lubbock Monterey. He'll face off in the top half of the inning against Moore, Barkley, and Hoover for the Hawks out of Heath High School in the Rockwall ISD. As we get ready to go, coming up to bat is number 14, Jabin Moore. He is a 6 foot, 180-pound senior. He bats right, throws right. He'll step in here from the right side to face off against the lefty, Andrew Nations, for tonight's ball game. And he got a signal from the home plate umpire. We are ready to play ball here at Eagle Field. Georgetown, the home team, here in game number 2 of this 6-game round-robin tournament. And Andrew Nations will work out of the windup from the third base side of the rubber. First pitch of the ball game is swung, drove out to shortstop. Luke Holly up with it to throw across the diamond in time to retire Moore. One pitch, one out. 6-3 on the putout to retire Jabin Moore. And up comes the right fielder, number 8, Tyson Barkley. So Andrew Nations, you can't ask for a much better start there than the quick one pitch, one out scenario for the senior lefty. And so here comes Tyson Barkley. He'll step in. He's a 6'1", 160-pound junior. He bats right, throws right for the Hawks. Steps in. The first pitch from Nations on the outside corner, called strike one. Luke Holly played third in the first game. Moves over to shortstop. He and Jack Kiki switch spots here in game number 2. A nice play there. Second pitch to Barkley is driven into center field. Peterson up with it quickly, and he'll get it in. And that'll be a one-out single for Tyson Barkley. And the Hawks have things going here in the top half of the first inning. And in steps number 7, Caleb Hoover. He's a 6'3", 210-pound senior. Bats left, throws right. And Caleb Hoover got to talk with Shannon, the play-by-play voice of the Heath Hawks. And Hoover was the starting quarterback for the Hawks football team as well. A dual sport athlete for Hawk High School. And so a great athlete here. He led off, got hit or walked in inning number 1 of their first game, and then came around to score on a triple by Ladisal. Steps in here from the left side, the lefty-lefty matchup. This one's down in the turf. Good block by Reese Herrera. And Hoover starts off with a 1-ball, no strike count. 1-0 the count, 1 out. Runner at first base here for the Hawks as Hoover back in for the left side. Nations works from the stretch. Third base side of the rubber, comes set in the stretch. The 1-0 pitch is down low in the turf for ball 2. 2-0 the count now. To Caleb Hoover with Brady Ladisal on deck for the Hawks. Hunter Bullen in the hole for the Henderson Hawks, the Heath Hawks. Here in First Pitch Classic. 7 o'clock game here on Thursday night. Nations a throw over to first base. And Fluid will lay on the tag. But Barkley dives back in safely there. So we'll all reset. 2-0 the count. To the left-handed hitting Caleb Hoover. A 1 out here in the top of the first. A runner on first after the 1-out single by Barkley. Nations comes set. The 2-0 pitch. Low and outside. Ball 3. A 3-0 count now to Caleb Hoover. With Brady Ladisal on deck. A dangerous hitter for the Heath Hawks as he waits on deck to come up and face off against Nation. Ladisal, the 6'3", 205-pound junior, will bat from the right side. Bats right, throws right as he waits on deck. 3-0 count here. Nations, the 3-0 pitch. Outside corner called strike 1. And so Nation stays alive in the at-bat. 3 balls and 1 strike. To the left-handed hitting third batter in the Heath Hawk lineup, Caleb Hoover. Hoover back in, stands towards the back of the box, up near the front. Tightens in on the plate, and now Nations will come set in the stretch. And look at first, 3-1 to count. A throw over to first, and they get the runner in the throw down. Fluid will throw down to shortstop. Oh, my goodness. Luke Hawley slaps the tag on, and the umpire calls him safe. So Tyson Barkley will slide in safely on the stolen base. And now a runner in scoring position for the Hawks. As Barkley, one of those you thought would be the sure out, slides in safely, steals the bag instead of getting into a rundown. Just hard running there, and he slides in safely. And now Nations goes to work. 3-1 to count on Hoover. He'll step off and reset on the 3-1 count. The runner at second base, 1 out here in the top of the first. Georgetown comes in ranked 23rd in the preseason poll in 5A. Right ahead of Aledo and Liberty Hill for the top 25. The 3-1 pitch fouled off back to the screen for strike 2, and the count goes full on Caleb Hoover for the Heath Hawks. So Andrew Nations continues to battle with the go-ahead runner on second base for the Hawks here in the top of the first. A 1-out single by Tyson Barkley moves up on the stolen base. Hoover tightens in on the left-handed hitting box. The payoff pitch, and a ball hit out to left field. Tate Ritchie on the run, closes in on it, and he'll make the catch for out number 2, and Barkley will scramble back to second base. And in steps Brady Ladisal with 2 outs and a runner at second base. F7 in the book to record the out of Hoover for the second out of the inning. So a good job there by Andrew Nations to come back and get the out after going down 3-0 in the count to Caleb Hoover. Ladisal steps in for the Hawks. 6'3", 205-pound junior, throws right, hits right, steps in with 2 outs and a runner on second. Nations comes set from the stretch. The first pitch fouled off back to the screen. And Nations ahead in the count. No balls, 1 strike with 2 outs here in the top of the first. Ladisal steps back in from the right side. Nations from the stretch. Works from the third base side of the rubber. Gets a sign from Herrera and comes set in the stretch. The 0-1 pitch. Fly ball sent down the right field line. Rainey gives chase. Jackson Rainey chases it down in the corner and makes the catch for out number 3. 4 up, 3 down, go the Hawks. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, and 1 runner left on base after half an inning Heath Hawks 0. Georgetown coming up to bat here at the Eagle Field. Stay with us. More Eagle baseball in just a moment on the SHN Sports Network. We move to the bottom of the first inning, and the Hawks will bring to the mound a 6'1", 160-pound junior. Bats left, throws left. Landon Ammerman, number 9, takes to the mound. So a lefty-lefty head-to-head matchup here between the Hawks and the Eagles. As Ammerman goes through his warm-ups defensively for the Hawks. Ladiso in left, Smith in center, Barkley in right. Bullen at third, Moore at short, Cooley at second, Hoover at first base. Lewis behind the plate, Thompson the DH, and on the mound is the 6'1" junior left-hander Landon Ammerman. He'll face off against the top 3 in the Eagle lineup to start out the bottom of the first. Devin Peterson, Luke Hawley, and Reese Herrera. Devin Peterson steps in. He was 2 for 3 in the first game today. Struck out in the first inning, but then had a beautiful RBI triple in the third to score the first run of the ball game to drive in Cord Lawrence, and then scored on the wild pitch to tie things up at 2 apiece, and then had a single in the 5th inning. 2 for 3 on the game with a run scored, an RBI, and a triple, and he'll step in here to lead off things against Ammerman, the lefty, here in the bottom of the first inning. Ammerman from the windup, works from the third base side. The first pitch to Peterson on the outside corner, called strike 1. Generous outside corner call there for the first strike. An 0-1 count to Devin Peterson. The 0-1 pitch. Breaking pitch, same spot, 0-2. Now the call, and a called second strike. And Devin Peterson behind in the count, no balls and 2 strikes. Luke Hawley, the shortstop, waits on deck for the Eagles. Ammerman gets assigned the 0-2 pitch. High and outside, ball 1. 1-2 now the count to the senior center fielder, Devin Peterson. Devin steps back in from the right side, middle of the box. The 1-2 pitch. Peterson will take it, called strike 3. Devin Peterson down on strikes for out number 1 here in the top of the first. The bottom of the first strikeout thrown by Ammerman, and that'll bring up the shortstop, Luke Hawley. Hawley, the 6'2", 180-pound junior, bats right, throws right. Will step in here from the right side with 1 out, and the base is empty. Went 0 for 2 in game number 1. Walked and stole a base in the first inning. Rounded out to third and lined out to shortstop. Foul tip into the glove for strike 1. 0-1 the count to Luke Hawley. Reese Herrera, the catcher, on deck for your Georgetown Eagles. Hammerman from the windup. The 0-1 pitch. Takes it high. Ball 1. Evens out at 1 apiece for your shortstop, Luke Hawley. Hawley back in from the right side. Ammerman from the windup, the 1-1 pitch. Hawley lays off and takes it for called ball. 2-1 now the count to the shortstop. 1 out, base is empty here in the bottom of the first. The Heath Hawks, the Georgetown Eagles, doing battle here in the Classic. The 2-1 pitch. Hawley takes it outside, ball 3, and now a 3-1 count to the junior shortstop. Special guest up in the booth, Jamison Vieira joins me in the booth. Coach Vieira's son here in the Classic. 3-1 pitch, fouled off, back to the screen by Hawley. Evens out the count now. 3 balls, 2 strikes to the junior shortstop. As Luke Hawley will step back in, Ammerman out of the windup. Reese Herrera, the catcher, waits on deck for his turn here in the bottom half of the first inning. Ammerman from the third base side of the rubber gets the sign, the payoff pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Back-to-back strikeouts for out number 2 for Ammerman and the Hawks, and that'll bring up the catcher, Reese Herrera. Reese Herrera
now stepping up to the
6'1", 190-pound senior, bats right, throws right, steps in from the right side, base is empty with 2 outs here in the bottom of the first. And Ammerman gets the sign from Lewis, the windup, the first pitch. And this one called strike 1 on the breaking pitch. 0-1 the count now to Reese Herrera. Should he be able to extend the inning? Jackson Rainey, Mercer Vieira joins us in the booth here live in game number 2. The 0-1 pitch to Herrera. Up high, ball 1. 1-1 now the count to Reese Herrera. Coach Vieira's kids stopping by. I love it. Jameson and Mercer come in to visit Ammerman from the windup, the 1-1 pitch. Herrera swinging a miss on the off-speed pitch. Now 1 ball and 2 strikes to Herrera. Jackson Rainey waiting on deck for his chance. Should Herrera be able to extend the inning here for the Georgetown Eagles? 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Base is empty. The 1-2 pitch. Foul tip into the mitt for caught strike 3. And the Eagles go in order here in the bottom of the first. No runs, no hits, no errors. Nobody left on base. After 1 complete inning, Heath 0, Georgetown 0. Georgetown baseball continues in just a moment. And we're back here live from the top of the second inning at Eagle Field. Georgetown and Heath do battle. We go to the top of the second inning. Andrew Nations in his first inning of work allowed 1 hit through 11 pitches. Only faced 4 batters, and now he'll face off against the 5, 6, and 7 hitters for the Hawks. The first pitch from Nations just misses. 4-1 to Hunter Bullen, the third baseman. 1-0 the count to Hunter Bullen. Bullen, the 6'2", 200-pound sophomore, steps back in. The 1-0 pitch, low and inside, ball 2. 2-0 the count to the third baseman. Bullen back in for the left side. Back of the box, closer to the plate. His Nation works from the windup from the third base side of the rubber. The 2-0 pitch. In there on the inside part of the plate for a called strike. 2 balls, 1 strike, the count to Bullen. Drew Smith, Alex Cooley also due up here in the top of the 6th for the Hawks. Bullen back in for the left side. Nations from the windup, the 2-1 pitch. Breaking ball, outside corner, called strike 2. Beautiful pitch there. Evens up the count for 2 balls and 2 strikes now to the third baseman, Bullen. Bullen back in for the left side. Nations gets the sign from Herrera, the 2-2 pitch. Down in the turf for ball 3, and now a full count for the leadoff man here in the top of the second. 3 balls, 2 strikes for Hunter Bullen, the third baseman. Nations gets the sign from Herrera from the windup. The payoff pitch. Stays high, ball 4. Leadoff walk drawn by Bullen. Gives the Hawks a leadoff base runner. First walk issued in the ball game by Andrew Nations. And now that'll bring up the center fielder, number 1, Drew Smith, the 5'10", 175-pound senior. Throws right, bats right. He'll step in here with no outs and a runner on first base. Nations will move to the stretch. Still from the third base side of the rubber. Fluid will hold on, Bullen at first base. Nations will come set. The first pitch. Fly ball back out of play down the right field line. 4 strike one, 0-1 the count to Drew Smith, with Alex Cooley, the second baseman, on deck for the Heath Hawks here in the top of the second. Beautiful night for baseball. A few of the Hawk fans have come in tonight. I'm sure more of them will venture in tomorrow. After the workday, the Hawks will play an early game. I believe they play the 11 o'clock game, or the 10 o'clock game, and the 4 o'clock game tomorrow. Georgetown plays the 1 and 7. Nations come set. The 0-1 pitch will come after this throw over to first base. Bullen back in standing. No balls, 1 strike. To the center fielder, Drew Smith. No outs here in the top of the second. A leadoff walk. To the third baseman, Bullen has the runner at first for the Hawks. They've put a runner on base in both of the top 2 innings now, first 2 innings. Tyson Barkley stranded at second base at the top of the first. Throw over to first base again. Bullen back in standing. The Nation keeps him safe there. Lefty-lefty matchup here in the ballgame. Nation's the lefty for the Eagles. Landon Ammerman the lefty for the Heath Hawks. Nations takes a look in, gets the sign from Herrera, comes set in the stretch. The 0-1 pitch stays high, ball 1. 1-1 now the count to Drew Smith. Coach Harvey, the base coach, down at third base, the head coach for the Heath Hawks. The Heath Hawks, the 2021 6A state champions of baseball. Georgetown followed that with a state title of their own in 2022 in 5A baseball. They do battle here. Top of the second, the 1-1 pitch. Outside corner called, strike 2. So you like to see that. If the corners are going to be given, they're going to be given at the top and the bottom of the inning. And so Nations ahead now in the count over Smith. 1 ball and 2 strikes with no outs and the runner at first base. Moderate wind blowing left to right across the outfield. Peterson shaded to the right field side of center field. Nations a throw over to first base. Bullen back in standing safely there. 1-2 remains the count to Drew Smith, the center fielder for the Hawks. Nations only threw 11 pitches in the first inning, allowed 1 hit, but left 1 stranded. After getting a couple of fly balls back-to-back. Fly ball to left field to Tate Ritchie and right field to Jackson Rainey to end the inning. The 1-2 pitch down in the turf. Good block by Herrera. Evens out the count. 2 balls and 2 strikes now. Here in the top of the second, Bullen not able to advance as Reese Herrera doing a great job keeping that ball out in front of the plate off his chest protector. So Bullen returned to first. Fluid will hold him on as Nations looks in and gets the sign. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Nations come set. The 2-2 pitch. Fouled off. Back to home, behind home plate to the screen. Drew Smith stays alive in the at-bat. 2 balls and 2 strikes. 1 p.m. tomorrow, your Georgetown Eagles will take on the Fort Bend Clements Rangers. And then at 7 p.m. tomorrow night, it's the Corpus Christi Carroll Tigers. For tomorrow's slate of games for your Georgetown Eagles, come join us live here at Eagle Field, 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. Nations come set, the 2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Smith down on strikes for out number 1, the first strikeout of the ball game for Nations. And that'll bring up the second baseman, number 16, Alex Cooley, the 5'8", 170-pound sophomore. Throws right, bats right, steps in here with 1 out and a runner at first base. As he looks at the wristband to get the call from Coach Harvey. Now Cooley will step in from the right side. On deck for the Hawks will be the designated hitter, Weston Thompson. Nations come set in the stretch. And a throw over to first here. Bullen back in standing. Just keeping the runner close there. The number 5 hitter in the lineup drew the leadoff walk for the Hawks. Still down at first base with 1 out here in the top of the second. Nations will come set. Another throw over to first base here. Alex Cooley waits at home to see his first pitch of the at-bat here in the second ball game of the night for both of these teams. Cooley back in from the right side, comes set. Andrew Nations gets the sign, comes set from the stretch. The first pitch in there for a called strike. Nice pitch by Nations. And he's ahead in the count. No balls and one strike. The second baseman, Cooley. Cooley back in quickly from the right side. Settles in. Nations gets the sign, comes set. Bullen leads off first. The 0-1 pitch. Ground ball to third. Kiki fills it, drops it, bobbles it. He'll have to throw across the diamond, but not in time. So it'll be runners on first and second on the E5. That'll move Bullen up to second base. And Alex Cooley reaches base on the fielding error by Kiki. And in steps the designated hitter, number 10, Weston Thompson. He's a 6'2", 185-pound junior. Bats right for the Hawks. Steps in here, hitting in the number 8 slot for the Hawks here in this ball game. Hitting for the pitcher, Landon Ammerman. On deck, Preston Lewis waits for his opportunity here for the Hawks. First pitch of the at-bat to Thompson. Stays inside, ball one. 1 ball, no strikes, the count to Weston Thompson, the designated hitter. Bullen leads off second base. Cooley off first. Nations comes set. The 1-0 pitch to Thompson. Outside corner, called strike one. Evens up the count at 1 ball and 1 strike. To the DH. Thompson back in from the right side. Nations gets the sign from Herrera. Comes set in the stretch. The 1-1 pitch. Fouled off back to the screen. And now Nations ahead in the count. 1 ball and 2 strikes. You hear Coach Vieira in the background. Ground ball, ground ball. You'd love to get a double play ground ball here and get out of the inning with no damage. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 1 out with runners on first and second here in the top of the second for the Heath Hawks. Out of Rockwall ISD up in the greater Dallas area. Nations comes set, a look back at second base. The 1-2 pitch. Thompson lays off and takes it low for ball 2. 2-2 the count now. To Weston Thompson with Preston Lewis, the catcher, on deck. Bullen off second. Cooley off first. The 2-2 pitch. Chopped foul back off the home plate umpire. Thompson stays alive in the at-bat. 2 balls and 2 strikes. 1 out. Runners on first and second. Herrera ventures out to the mound to have a discussion with Andrew Nations, the lefty.
Let's go, Weston. Let's go, bud.
Now Andrew Nations back on the rubbers. Herrera turns behind home plate. Thompson back in at the plate from the right side. Nations with the look in, gets the sign from Herrera. Comes set in the stretch. The 2-2 pitch. Ground ball, pulled foul towards the third base dugout. Thompson stays alive. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Here in the top half of the second inning. Bullen leads off second. Cooley off first. Thompson back in from the right side. Floyd playing behind Cooley at first base. About 10 steps back. The 2-2 pitch. Ground ball to third. Kiki will grab it. He'll throw to second for 1. Ball will relay to first, but not in time. So Thompson will reach on the fielder's choice, and now there'll be runners at the corners. Alex Cooley retired at second base on the 5-4 putout for out number 2. So in steps the number 9 hitter, Preston Lewis, the catcher, with 2 outs and runners on the corners. Hunter Bullen moves up to third base. Weston Thompson down at first on the fielder's choice. Preston Lewis, the 6', 225-pound sophomore catcher, steps in from the right side. Bats right, throws right. Steps in here with an opportunity with the runner just 90 feet away. Nations comes set. He'll throw over to first base. But back standing easily is Thompson. Coach Harvey giving the signals there in the background. No balls, no strikes to Preston Lewis, the catcher. The number 9 hitter steps in for his first at bat of the ball game. Quick throw over. And Fluid does a good job of keeping that from going down the first baseline. Nations with the long look in. Now he'll step off and reset. Lewis stays in the box, ready to go. Nations comes set. The first pitch of the at-bat stays high, ball 1. 1-0 the count to Preston Lewis. On deck, the leadoff batter, Jabin Moore. Should Lewis be able to extend this inning? Bullen leads off third. Thompson off first. Thompson held on by Fluid at first base. Nation comes set, the 1-0 pitch. In the turf, good block there by Herrera. 2-0 the count to Preston Lewis. So now, Nations behind in the count. 2 balls and no strikes with 2 outs. Runners at the corners. Here in the top of the second. Thompson leads off first, held on by Fluid. The 0-2 pitch, 2-0 pitch. Outside corner, called strike 1, and now a 2-1 count to Preston Lewis. Lewis back in for the right side. Nations a long look in and gets the sign from his catcher, Reese Herrera. Now he'll step off and reset. Nations comes set from the stretch. Throw over to first base. Fluid does a great job there. Bringing in that throw. A little wide towards the second base side of first base. Gunshots in the background. The track meet going on just behind us. They echo here into the baseball field as you hear it on the crowd mic. Nations will come set here. Lewis ready to go. The 2-1 pitch. Ground ball out towards short. Holly will field it on the run. He'll have to make a strong throw and does, but it's Pie Fluid back to the fence. And here comes the runner from first all the way around to score. 2 runs come in on the error. That'll be the second error of the ball game. They're going to charge this one to the shortstop, Luke Holly. It'll be his first error of the ball game, the second on the Eagles, and that'll cost him 2 runs here. As the throw pulls Fluid off the line, off the bag, can't make the catch. It goes up the line. Rainey on a long run comes in and gets it. But Weston Thompson all the way around from first base was off and running on the crack of the bat. He comes around to score as well as Hunter Bullen. And the Hawks have a 2-0 lead here. And on that same play, the runner, Lewis, advanced to second base. Now the courtesy runner in for him. First pitch to the leadoff man, Jabin Moore's inside for ball 1. Jabin Moore steps in here. He's 0 for 1 in the ball game. Nations come set in the stretch. A look back at second, the 1-0 pitch. That breaking ball's in there for a called strike. 1-1 now the count to the leadoff man, Jabin Moore. Grounded out to the shortstop, Holly, for the first out of the ball game at the top of the first. Steps back in, 0 for 1 in the ball game. 1-1 count with 2 outs and a runner at second. The Hawks have put up 2 here in the top of the second. Nations turn towards second, but the courtesy runner back in safely there for the Hawks. Courtesy runner for the catcher, Lewis, is number 3, Austin Owens. Leads off second base. Nations a look back. The 1-1 pitch. Off the chest protector of Herrera. He'll throw down to third. Nope, he'll hold on to it. And a good read there by the runner, Owens. He advances to third on the pitch down in the turf. That one bounced in the turf before it got to the catcher. Herrera will be ruled a wild pitch. Oh, a couple of errors and a wild pitch. Here's the 2-1 pitch. It misses for ball 3. Now a 3-1 count to the leadoff man, Moore. The runner on third and 2 outs. Andrew comes set. The 3-1 pitch. Ground ball out towards third. Kiki makes the belly on the hop. Throws across the diamond in time. And the Eagles get out of the inning after giving up 2 runs on no hits, 2 errors. And a runner left on base. After an inning and a half, Heath 2, Georgetown nothing. Eagle baseball continues in just a moment here on the SHN Sports Network. We're back here for the bottom of the second inning. The Eagles will bring up the 4, 5, and 6 hitters. Jackson Rainey, David Fluitt, and Talon Ball to face off against the lefty, Landon Ammerman. The Eagles win in order in the bottom of the first. All 3 strikeouts by Ammerman. And in steps the left-handed hitting Jackson Rainey, the right fielder. Rainey, the 6'2", 215-pound senior. Hits left, throws right. The first pitch from Ammerman is in there for a called strike. 0-1 the count to Rainey. Ammerman gets the sign from the windup, the 0-1 pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 2. Oh, 0-2 the count now to Jackson Rainey. Ammerman from the windup, the 0-2 pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3. 4 batters up, 4 strikeouts for the lefty Ammerman. That's out number 1 here in the bottom of the second. And in steps the left-handed hitting first baseman David Fluitt. Fluitt, the 6'1", 170-pound junior. Bats left, throws left, steps in from the left side. Ammerman from the windup, the first pitch to Fluitt. Misses outside for ball 1. Fluitt 1 for 3 with a stolen base and a run scored back in the first game. Steps in here with the 1-0 count. And this one hits him square in the back. So Fluitt will take his base on the hit by pitch. Ammerman was pretty much perfect to that point, but allows his first base runner on his first hit by pitch with 1 out here in the bottom of the second. And that'll bring up your second baseman, Talon Ball. The 5'9", 165-pound senior steps in for the right side. Mighty Mouse finished the runner-up in state at the wrestling state finals last weekend. The 150-pound division. Congrats to Talon Ball on a great senior year, great career here at Georgetown. Wrestling for the Eagles. Now steps in. Takes the first pitch high for ball 1. 1-0 the count for Talon Ball. Ammerman from the stretch. The 1-0 pitch. Swing and a miss. Strike 1. 1-1 now the count to Talon Ball. There went one of our cameras. Get things straightened out here during the break. Talon Ball back in, the 1-1 pitch. Nope, throw over to first base, and Fluitt dives back in safely there. Ammerman comes set in the stretch. The 1-1 pitch. Just low for ball 2. 2-1 now the count to Talon Ball. Fluitt leads off at first base, being held on by the first baseman Hoover. Throw over to first base. Fluitt dives back in safely. Two balls, one strike to Talon Ball. Ammerman works from the stretch here with the runner on first and one out in the bottom of the second. The 2-1 pitch, swing and a miss, strike two. Count evens out at 2 balls, 2 strikes to Talon Ball. On deck, the DH, Reese Seaman, waits his turn here for the Eagles. Ammerman comes set, the 2-2 pitch, fouled off back to the screen. Talon Ball stays alive in the at-bat, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Ammerman looks in and gets a sign from Lewis. Comes set. The 2-2 pitch. Ball fouls it off towards the first base dugout as Heath Hawks scramble. Talon Ball stays alive. 2 balls, 2 strikes. We're in the bottom of the second inning. 2-0. The Hawks put up 2 in the top half of the inning. 2 runs on no hits, 2 errors, and 1 runner left on. The 2-2 pitch fouled off back to the screen. Ball continues to battle here. Next pitch will be the 8th of the at-bat for Talon Ball. Ammerman comes set. The 2-2 pitch. And a swing and a miss. Strike 3 for out number 2. 5th strikeout of the ball game for Ammerman. And now Reese Seaman steps in, the DH. He's the 5'10", 170-pound junior. Bats left, throws right. Ammerman comes set. Lefty-lefty matchup. Throw over to first base. Fluid dives back in safely there. 14 pitches in the top of the first for Ammerman. Struck out the side. Comes set. The first pitch to Seaman. Breaking pitch in there for a called strike. Coach Vieira down at third base. Talks to his DH, Reese Seaman, batting the 7th spot for the Eagles here in the game nightcap. Fluid leads off. So Ammerman comes set. The 0-1 pitch. Ball hit out towards second base. Cooley up with it. Throws to Hoover at first for the putout. And the Eagles are retired here in the bottom of the second. 4-3 on the putout to retire Seaman and the Eagles. No runs on no hits, no errors, and 1 runner left on base. After 2 complete innings, Heath Hawks lead it 2-0 over your Eagles. Eagle baseball continues in a moment. And back we come to Eagle Field. We go to the top of the third. Nation's on for his 3rd inning of work. The first pitch is up and in for ball 1. Nations works to the number 2 hitter in the lineup, Tyson Barkley. He's 1 for 1 in the ball game. Singled back in the first, stole second base, was left stranded. Steps in here from the right side to lead off the third. A 1-0 pitch low for ball 2. 2-0 the count now. From Andrew Nations. to Tyson Barkley, the right fielder. Barkley, Hoover, and Lattisall due up here for the Hawks in the top of the third. The 2-0 pitch popped up back behind home plate. Herrera gives chase, but it's going to get out of play. So it'll be a 2-1 count now to Tyson Barkley. 2 balls, 1 strike. You're in the top of the third. No runs. 2 runs, 1 hit, no errors for the Hawks. No runs, no hits, 2 errors for your Eagles. Here's in the top of the third. The 2-1 pitch. Ground ball hit out towards third. Kiki charges on the run. He'll have to fire across the diamond and does. And bang, bang play at first, and he gets him 5-3 on the putout. What a play by Jack Kiki to throw on the run. The stretch by Fluitt. And Tyson Barkley is gunned down 5-3 on the putout. Nice play there by Kiki. Round number 1, and that'll bring up the first baseman, Caleb Hoover. He's 0 for 1 in the ball game. Flew out to left field for his second out of the inning. Back in the first inning. Steps in here with 1 out and the base is empty. First pitch misses outside. Ball 1. In inning number 2, Andrew Nations allowed 2 runs on no hits, 2 errors, and 1 runner left on through 30 pitches. 41 total through 2. The 1-0 pitch misses low and inside. Ball 2. 2-0 the count now to the first baseman, Caleb Hoover, with Brady Lattisall up on deck. For the Hawks, the number 4 hitter, Lattisall, the left fielder, on deck. Nations from the windup, the 2-0 pitch to Hoover. That one skips in, ball 3, 3-0 the count. Through 2 1/3 innings. Nations has allowed 2 runs, 1 hit, 1 strikeout, 1 walk, 1 wild pitch. The 3-0 pitch to Hoover. Fouled off. Hoover swinging with a 3-0 count. Fouls it back out of play down the third baseline. And the count goes to 3-1 now. You hear Coach Harvey down the third baseline. There's 1 pitch I'm looking for, and that wasn't it. 3-1 the count now to Hoover. The 3-1 pitch. Outside corner, called strike 2, and now a full count. And what you have to think would have been a 4-pitch walk had Hoover not swung at ball 4. And now it's a 3-2 count. Nations from the windup, the payoff pitch. Fly ball hit out to right center field, and it's a deep one. Devin Peterson gives chase. It's going to 1 hop towards the wall. Peterson, nope, Rainey will pick it up. Hoover around second, headed to third. The relay will come in from the Eagles as Hoover drops the hammer over at third base. A 1-out triple by Caleb Hoover as the Heath Hawks back in action here in the top of the third, threatening again. Brady Lattisall comes up 0 for 1 in the ball game. Flew out to right field to end the first inning. Steps in here with 1 out and a runner at third. Lattisall from the right side steps in. Nations from the stretch, the first pitch. Lattisall takes it on the inside corner for called strike 1 on the breaking ball. On deck, Hunter Bullen, the third baseman. The 0-1 pitch in there for called strike 2. Nation works ahead on the count. No balls, 2 strikes to Lattisall, the number 4 hitter in the Hawk lineup. Nations from the windup. The 0-2 pitch. Fly ball hit down the right field line. Jackson Rainey will give chase. He'll make the catch in the corner, but that'll allow Hoover to score. On the play, and the Heath Hawks run the score up to 3-0 here in the top of the third. A sac fly there by Lattisall. So he does his job to get that run in from third base with just 1 out.
Next up, number 6.
So with 2 outs, in steps Hunter Bullen, the third baseman. He's 0 for 0 in the ball game. He reached on a base on balls and scored a run in the second. First pitch is a called strike to the left-handed hitting third baseman. 0-1 the count. 2 outs and the base is empty here in the top of the third. The 0-1 pitch misses. Ball 1. 1-1 the count now. To Hunter Bullen. Drew Smith, the center fielder, on deck. Should Bullen be able to reach base? From the windup, the 1-1 pitch. Fly ball right side of the infield. Fluitt will give chase towards the foul line, but this one will drift out of play into the Hawk bullpen for a long strike and a 1-2 count now to Hunter Bullen, the third baseman. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Base is empty. The Hawks 1 across here in the third, lead it by 3, 3-0. The 1-2 pitch. Breaking ball hit out to third. Kiki on a hop, fields it, bobbles it, boots it, and now Bullen will reach base. Another error by this Eagle defense. Puts a runner on with 2 outs here in the third. Second error in the ballgame charged to Kiki over at third base. And now Drew Smith will step in. He's 0 for 1 in the ballgame, struck out swinging in the second inning. The center fielder steps in here with the bases empty, or the bases, 1 runner on base, 2 outs here in the top of the third. Nations will move to the stretch. Comes set, the first pitch. Fly ball right side, but it's going to twist out of play. And the count, no balls and 1 strike to Drew Smith. Smith steps out. Nations now back on the rubber. Third base side of the rubber in the stretch. Comes set. The 0-1 pitch. Down in the turf. Good block by Herrera. Throw behind the runner. But not in time as Bullen dives back in. 1-1 to count to Drew Smith. Alex Cooley, the second baseman, waits on deck. Should the Hawks be able to extend this inning here with 2 outs and a runner on first? 1-1 count. To the center fielder, Drew Smith. Andrew Nations, the lefty. Gets the sign from Herrera, comes set in the stretch. Long pause. And now a late time called by the home plate umpire. Smith had held it up for a couple of seconds before it was finally granted. Nations went ahead and threw the ball home. So everyone will reset. The count remains 1 ball and 1 strike with 2 outs. Here in the top of the third, 3-0. Heath leads it over Georgetown. A runner on first, quick throw over to first base. But Bullen dives back in safely there without the tag. The 1-1 pitch, ground ball, and Nations will field it on the mound. He'll throw to first in time as Fluid snags that for out number 3. 1-3 on the putout to retire the Hawks, but not before they pick up 1 run on 1 hit, 1 error, and 1 runner left on base. After 2.5 innings, Heath leads at 3-0 over Georgetown. Eagle baseball continues in just a moment. And we go to the bottom of the third inning. Georgetown will bring up the 8-9-1 hitters. Face off against Ammerman here in the bottom of the third. The first pitch fouled off by Ritchie. Back to the backstop for strike 1. Ritchie leads off here in the bottom of the third. The 8-9-1 hitters due up. Ritchie back in for the right side. The 0-1 pitch skips in outside for ball 1. 1-1 to count to the left fielder, Tate Ritchie. Ritchie, the 5'7", 160-pound junior, steps back in. The 1-1 pitch, swing and a miss, strike 2. Jack Kiki and Devin Peterson due up after Ritchie here in the bottom of the third for Georgetown. The 1-2 pitch. Fly ball fouled out down the first baseline. Ritchie stays alive in the at-bat. 1 ball and 2 strikes, leading off for the Eagles here in the bottom of the third. From the windup, the 1-2 pitch. Down low in the turf. Lewis with the block. And the count evens up. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Tate Ritchie. Hammerman from the windup. Through 2 innings has thrown 29 pitches. The 2-2 pitch misses high. Ball 3. 3-2 count now. Only the second full count that Hammerman has fallen behind on to the Eagles so far. The payoff pitch. Ritchie right back up the middle. Hammerman will field it. He'll run over and pitch it to Hoover at first base for out number 1. 1-3 on the putout. For out number 1 to retire Ritchie. And in steps the third baseman, number 20, Jack Kiki. 5'11", 160-pound sophomore steps in from the right side. The number 9 hitter in the lineup for the Eagles. In game number 1, Kiki 0 for 3. Flew out, grounded out, and struck out. Swing and a miss on the first pitch. 0-1 the count to the sophomore third baseman. Hammerman from the windup, the 0-1 pitch. Kiki pops one up down the right field line. Second baseman on a long run. Now the right fielder comes in, and Barkley makes the catch for out number 2. F7 in the book. Just in foul territory to retire Kiki. And back to the top of the lineup, the Eagles go to Devin Peterson. He struck out. F9 in the book, not F7. To the right fielder, Barkley. And now Devin Peterson steps in 0 for 1 in the ballgame. A strikeout looking back in the first. The first pitch to Peterson. Swing and a miss, strike 1. Hammerman in total control here. 2 2/3 innings for the Hawks. The 0-1 pitch to Peterson. Ground ball down the third baseline, pulled foul. And now Peterson behind in the count. No balls and 2 strikes. He's hit 1 batter. Struck out 5. In 2 2/3 innings. Peterson will step back in from the right side. Behind in the count. No balls, 2 strikes with the bases empty and 2 outs here in the bottom of the third. Hammerman from the windup, the 0-2 pitch. Fouled off back to the screen. Peterson stays alive in the bat. No balls, 2 strikes. Peterson will step back in from the right side. Hammerman with the look in and gets the sign from Lewis. The 0-2 pitch. Up high and away, ball 1. 1-2 now the count. To the senior center fielder, Devin Peterson, with Luke Colley, the shortstop, on deck. Should Peterson be able to extend the inning? Hammerman ready to go. The 1-2 pitch. Outside corner, called strike 3. Peterson down on strikes for the second time in the ballgame. And at the end of the third inning, Heath leads it 3-0. No runs, no hits, no errors for the Eagles here in the bottom of the third. 3-0. Heath leads it over Georgetown. Eagle baseball continues in a moment. to the top of the fourth. The Eagles bring on their first relief pitcher of the ball game. It'll be the 5'10", 180-pound junior. Throws from the right side, number 7. Hayden Grooms will come into pitch for the Eagles. Nations leaves the game after 3 complete innings. He allowed 3 runs on 2 hits, struck out 1, walked 1, threw 1 wild pitch. Threw 3 complete innings. Threw 52 pitches, make it 62 pitches on the night. And now Hayden Grooms takes over. He'll face off against the 7, 8, and 9 hitters in the Hawk lineup here in the top of the 4th inning. The first pitch is inside for ball 1 to Alex Cooley. Cooley reached on an error back in the 2nd inning. It was cut down on a ground ball to Kiki on a 5-4 put out on the fielder's choice. 0 for 1 in the game. He'll bunt this one out in front of the mound. Herrera up with it. The throw to first, not in time. And Alex Cooley gets a bunt single to lead off the inning. The base runner ahead on board for the Hawks here in the top of the 4th. Third hit of the night for Heath Hawk hitters. And that'll bring up the designated hitter, number 10, Weston Thompson. He reached on the fielder's choice and came around to score the 2nd run of the ballgame for the Hawks. He'll step in here with the runner on first and no outs in the top of the 4th. Grooms moves to the stretch. Throw over to first base. Cooley dives in safely. On deck, Preston Lewis, the catcher for the Hawks here in the top half of the 4th inning. Cooley leads off first, being held on by Fluid. Grooms comes set in the stretch. The first pitch to Thompson just misses for ball 1. 1-0 the count to Weston Thompson, 0 for 1 in the ball game. It's the call from Coach Harvey. Looks at the wristband, steps back in from the right side. Good size lead for Cooley at first base. Grooms with a look over, now comes set in the stretch. The 1-0 pitch. Down in the turf, blocked by Herrera there. 2-0 the count now to Thompson. 1 o'clock tomorrow, 12:45 pregame, 1 o'clock start, first pitch. Georgetown will take on the Fort Bend Clements Rangers here at Eagle Field. Come join us in the stands. Plenty of fun to go around. Grooms comes set. The 2-0 pitch. Misses low and inside, ball 3. 3-0 the count now to Weston Thompson, the number 8 hitter in the Hawk lineup, the designated hitter. Cooley will lead off first. Big lead there at first, held on by Fluid as Grooms looks over, now comes set in the stretch. The 3-0 pitch. Low and inside, ball 4. A 4-pitch walk has the runners at first and second here to start the top of the 4th for the Hawks. First walk issued by Grooms, second walk issued by Eagle pitching here in the ballgame. And that brings up Preston Lewis, the catcher. He's 0 for 1 in the ballgame, reached on an error. Steps in here with runners on first and second and no outs in the top of the 4th. Coach Harvey comes down, arm around Lewis and talks to him. Might see a bunt here with no outs and runners on first and second. Try to move both runners into scoring position. After Lewis, the Hawks go back to the top of the lineup for Moore, Barkley, and Hoover. Grooms comes set in the stretch. A look back at second base. The first pitch to Lewis. Inside, ball 1. Five straight balls by Grooms. The Eagles find themselves in a jam here in the top of the 4th, trailing by 3. The runners on first and second with no outs. The 1-0 pitch from Grooms to Lewis. Fouled off, back to the screen, evens out the count at 1-1 now. To the number 9 hitter, the catcher, Preston Lewis. Coach Harvey with the signals. The players all look at their wrist, and now the runners lead off first and second base. Preston Lewis back in from the right side. Grooms a look in and gets the sign from the catcher Herrera. Comes set in the stretch. The 1-1 pitch. Ball sit out into shallow left field. On the run is Tate Ritchie. He'll make the catch for out number 1 and get it in quickly. Over to Kiki at third base. The runners return to first and second base. And Lewis recorded as the first out of the inning on the F7. And that takes the Hawks back to the top of the lineup. Jabin Moore, the shortstop, he's 0 for 2 in the ball game. Steps in here from the right side with 1 out and runners on first and second. Grooms comes set from the stretch. The first pitch to Moore. Breaking ball in there for a called strike. On the top half of the zone, 0-1 the count to the shortstop Moore. If one game is not enough tomorrow at 1 p.m. for you to come out and watch the Eagles, come back at 7 p.m. The Eagles will take on Corpus Christi Carroll. They'll face the Tigers at 7 p.m. here in their 4th game of this Central Texas First Pitch Classic. The 0-1 pitch skips in. The runners are off. Herrera's throw down in time. What a throw by Reese Herrera to hose Cooley, trying to steal third. And now 2 outs in the inning. Weston Thompson advances on the double steal up to second base. But Herrera, a money shot down to Kiki at third base to get the runner. It's a 1-1 count to Moore with 2 outs now here in the inning and a runner at second base. But Cooley hosed on the caught stealing for out number 2. Grooms comes set in the stretch. A look back at second base, the 1-1 pitch to Moore. Breaking ball gets away from Herrera. And that'll allow Weston Thompson to move up to third base on that wild pitch. First wild pitch by Grooms, second of the ball game by Eagle pitchers. Now the Hawks have a runner just 90 feet away with a 2-1 count to Jabin Moore, the leadoff batter. Grooms into the windup, works from the first base side of the rubber. The 2-1 pitch to Moore. Stays up high, ball 3. 3-1 count now to the leadoff man. On deck, Tyson Barkley. Should Moore be able to reach base and extend this inning for the Hawks? They lead it 3-0. 3 runs on 3 hits, no errors. The 3-1 pitch sails high. The 2-out walk has runners on the corners. Second walk issued by Grooms, third for Eagle pitching in the ball game. And now Thompson down at third. Jabin Moore down at first, and Tyson Barkley, the right fielder, steps in, 1 for 2 in the ball game. Singled and stole a base in the first inning. Was left stranded there, and then grounded out to Kiki at third in the third inning. Steps in here with 2 outs and runners on the corners. Moore leads off first, being held on by Fluid. Thompson off third. Grooms in the stretch. The first pitch. Breaking pitch just misses low for ball 1 to Barkley. Hayden Grooms comes set in the stretch. Throw over to first base. Jabin Moore dives back in safely there. And everyone resets here. No balls, 1 strike, 2 outs. Runners on the corners for the Hawks. Here in the top half of the 4th, 3 runs on 3 hits, no errors for the Hawks. No runs, no hits, 3 errors for the Eagles. 2 runs in the second, 1 in the third. The Hawks threaten here in the top of the 4th. The runners on the corners and 2 outs. Grooms comes set in the stretch. The 0-1 pitch, low and inside, ball 2. 2-0 count to Tyson Barkley. The dangerous hitting first baseman Caleb Hoover on deck for the Hawks. Should Barkley reach base here? With 2 outs in the inning. Starter's pistol fires off across the way at the track meet. Grooms comes set in the stretch. 2 balls, no strikes, 2 outs. Runners on the corners. Throw over to first base. Moore dives back in safely there. And we'll all reset here with 2-0 count and 2 outs. Runners on the corners. Tyson Barkley, 1 for 2 in the ball game. Ahead in the count, 2 balls, no strikes. Grooms comes set in the stretch. Throw over to first base. Cooley dives back in safely again. Correction, Moore dives back in safely again. Barkley back in from the right side. Grooms comes set. The 2-0 pitch. Low and inside as Barkley jumps over it. Avoids being hit, and the count goes to 3-0 now. 1 base open here, so a place to put him. But unfortunately, it brings up the dangerous left-handed hitting first baseman Caleb Hoover, who's 1 for 2 with a triple and a run scored for the Hawks. Tyson Barkley steps back in from the right side. 3 balls, no strikes. Grooms comes set. The 3-0 pitch. Misses low and outside. Ball 4. A 4-pitch walk. Loads him up for the first baseman, Caleb Hoover. Thompson down at third. Moore at second. Barkley at first. And here comes pitching coach Chad Payne out to visit with Hayden Grooms. We'll take a quick timeout. Eagle Baseball will continue in just a moment. Visit to the mound is over, and Grooms back on the mound as Caleb Hoover steps in from the left side with 2 outs and the bases loaded. Grooms' first pitch to Hoover. Outside corner, called strike 1. Fly out to left field in the first inning. A triple and a run scored in the third for Caleb Hoover. 1 for 2 in the ball game. A chance to do some damage here in the top of the fourth with 2 outs and the bases loaded. Grooms from the windup. The 0-1 pitch. Ball hit out to second. Talent ball on a hop. Fields it. He'll throw to first in time to get the out and get the Eagles out of trouble here in the top of the fourth. 4-3 on the putout to retire Hoover and the Hawks. No runs on 1 hit. No errors, and the bases left loaded after 3.5. Heath leads it 3-0 over Georgetown. Eagle Baseball continues in a moment. We go to the bottom of the fourth back here at Eagle Field. Georgetown trails it by 3 to the Heath Hawks. The 2, 3, and 4 hitters due up for the Eagles. Here in the bottom of the fourth, Luke Hawley, Reese Herrera, and Jackson Rainey. Right. Luke Hawley steps in 0 for 1 in the ball game. First pitch is in there for a called strike. 0-1 the count. Landon Ammerman struck out 6, hit 1 through 3 innings. The 0-1 pitch, the off-speed breaker. Swing and a miss, strike 2. Hawley behind in the count now, no balls and 2 strikes. Leading off the bottom of the fourth here for the Georgetown Eagles. The 0-2 pitch, Hawley sends it down the right field line. Barkley will give chase towards the line and make the catch for out number 1. F9 in the book to retire Hawley. And that'll bring up the catcher, Reese Herrera. He's 0 for 1 in the ball game. Struck out swinging back at the first inning. Steps in here with the bases empty and 1 out in the bottom of the fourth. Ammerman from the windup. The first pitch to Herrera is not going to come here. Home plate umpire had time still called, so everyone resets. Herrera steps in from the right side. The first pitch from Ammerman. The big breaker stays high for ball 1. 1-0 the count to Herrera. The 1-0 pitch. Outside, ball 2. 2-0 the count to Herrera. By the time the batter steps back in, Ammerman ready to go from the windup. The 2-0 pitch. Outside corner called strike 1. A generous strike call there as that one crosses at about the inside line for the batter's box on the left side. The 2-1 pitch, swing and a miss, strike 2. 2-2 count to Herrera here with 1 out. And the base is empty in the bottom of the fourth. Georgetown chasing 3 to the Hawks. The 2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Herrera down on strikes for out number 2. 7th strikeout of the ball game for Ammerman. Got a no-hitter going here through 3 2/3 innings. And in steps the right fielder, number 11, Jackson Rainey. He struck out swinging back in the second inning. Steps in here with the bases empty and 2 outs. The lefty-lefty matchup, first pitch. Outside corner, called strike 1. Rainey back in from the left side. Ammerman from the windup. The 0-1 pitch. Ground ball hit up the middle. The second baseman coolly charges, throws the first in time. 4-3 on the putout to retire Jackson Rainey and the Eagles here in the bottom of the fourth. No runs on no hits, no errors, and nobody left on base after 4 complete. Heath 3, Georgetown nothing. Eagle baseball continues in a moment. We're back here at Eagle Field. We go to the top of the 5th inning. Hayden Grooms on to work his 2nd inning of relief for the Eagles. In his 1st inning, he didn't allow any runs. Only allowed 1 hit, left 3 on base, only threw 20 pitches, but now will face off against the 4, 5, and 6 hitters, Ladisall, Bullen, and Smith. From the windup, the first pitch to Ladisall. Misses for ball number 1. 1-0 the count. Ladisall over 1 in the ball game. Flew out to right in the 1st. A sac fly RBI in the 3rd. The 1-0 pitch. Up high and inside. Ball 2. Two and 0 the count to the number 4 hitter, Brady Ladisall. The 2-0 pitch. High and inside. Ball 3. Ladisall way ahead in the at-bat now. 3 balls and no strikes to lead off the top of the 5th for the Hawks. The 3-0 pitch right down Main Street for a called strike. 3 balls, 1 strike the count now to Ladisall. Hunter Bullen, the 3rd baseman. Drew Smith, the center fielder. On deck and in the hole. Due up here in the top of the 5th for the Hawks. 3-1 pitch inside corner. Just misses. Ball 4. A leadoff walk has the man aboard for the Hawks. Here in the top of the 5th, the first walk.
Next up, number 6, Hunter Bullen.
Make it the 3rd or 4th walk issued by Grooms.
Let's go 6.
In steps Hunter Bullen. He's 0 for 1 in the ball game. Walked and scored a run in the 2nd. Reached on an error in the 3rd. Grooms from the stretch. The first pitch. Inside, ball 1. Drew Smith, the center fielder, on deck. Alex Coley, the 2nd baseman, in the hole. For the Hawks, here in the top of the 5th, the runner on first, no outs. 1-0 the count. To the left-handed hitting, Hunter Bullen. Grooms comes set in the stretch. Throw over to first base. Ladisall dives back in safely. Ladisall leads off. Fluid holds him on. The 1-0 pitch. Misses up. Ball 2. 2-0 the count. To Hunter Bullen. Ladisall gets the lead off first. Fluid holds him on. Grooms comes set in the stretch. The 2-0 pitch. Line drive hit out to left field. Tate Ritchie not going to be able to get there. The ball lands there. Ladisall up to 2nd. He'll hold. And it'll be a single for Hunter Bullen, and first 2 men aboard for the Hawks here in the top of the 5th inning.
Straight up one. Straight up.
In steps the center fielder, Drew Smith. He's 0 for 2 in the ball game. A strikeout in the 2nd, a ground out to the pitcher in the 3rd. Steps in here with no outs and 2 runners on for the Hawks here in the top of the 5th. Ladisall leads off 2nd, Bullen off 1st. Grooms from the stretch. The first pitch. Said that the batter, Drew Smith, went on it. Calls it a strike. 0-1 the count to Drew Smith. Alex Cooley, the 2nd baseman, on deck. Runners on 1st and 2nd. No outs here in the top of the 5th. A 3-0 lead for the Hawks. 3 runs on 4 hits to this point. Smith back in from the right side. Grooms looks in and gets a sign from Herrera. Comes set in the stretch. The 0-1 pitch. Ground ball out between 3rd and 2nd, or 3rd and short into left field. Up with it is Ritchie. He'll fire it in. Ladisall held at 3rd base, and now it's bases loaded for the Hawks with no outs on back-to-back singles. Ladisall up to 3rd, held there by Coach Harvey. Bullen into 2nd, and Drew Smith aboard at 3rd.
16, Alex Cooley.
A walk and 2 singles for the Hawks here to lead up the top of the 5th. Alex Cooley steps in. He's 1 for 2 in the ball game. Reached on an error in the 2nd. Singled and caught stealing in the 4th. Steps in here with no outs and the bases loaded from the right side. Grooms from the stretch. Comes set. The first pitch. Ground ball, or line drive ripped. into the third base dugout. Coach Harvey walks over and checks on Coach Pierre and the Eagles. Make sure everyone's all right there. I think it went into the indoor batting cages and bullpen. 0-1 to count to Alex Cooley. Grooms comes set in the stretch. The 0-1 pitch. This one stays up and in for ball one. 1-1 to count now. To the second baseman, Cooley. Weston Thompson, the DH, on deck. He's 0 for 1 as he waits his opportunity with the bases loaded. No outs here in the top of the fifth. Grooms will step off and reset. So Cooley steps out with him. Cooley back in from the right side. Grooms will come set in the stretch. The 1-1 pitch. Fouled off. Back behind home plate. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Now the count. To the second baseman, Cooley. I think the Eagles would be willing to give up a run for a double play here if they could get a ground ball or something back to the corners. Third and first. Playing in on the grass. The 1-2 pitch. Ground ball or a fly ball. Line drive. But it's caught. Nope. Talon Ball drops it. He'll make the play to second. Luke Hawley will run the runner to third. The tag applied and doubled up. Nope. Jack Kiki drops it. That'll be another error on the Eagle defense. Should have had a 2 outs there. But a mistake made as the throw from Hawley to Kiki tries to apply the tag and drops the ball. And so another run scores. And now here's a discussion will happen between the umpires. Coach Vieira tries to come out, thinking it would have been maybe a dead ball there on a, I don't know if it's an infield fly. The ball didn't get very high, but Talon Ball fielded it. But when he went to come down, he dropped it. So the play was live. So we'll see what they call here as the 2-man umpire crew meet out between home plate and the mound. So the runner out at second base, which would have been Drew Smith. Ladisaw is going to score on the play. Hunter Bullen moves up, and he's safe at third base on the drop by Kiki. Drew Smith is eliminated on the 4-5 or 4-6 play after the drop ball for 1 out. And Alex Cooley reaches first base on the fielder's choice. And in steps Weston Thompson. He's 0 for 1. Runner off and running. The throw down from Herrera. He'll fake it and let the stolen base occur by Cooley. So now runners on first and second with 1 out here in the top of the fifth. 4-0. The Hawks lead it. A crazy play there. Was Talon Ball unable to hold on to it. This pitch is inside. Now a 2-0 count to Weston Thompson, the designated hitter. He reached on a fielder's choice in the second and scored a run. Walked and was left stranded at third base in the 4th inning. Steps in here with 1 out and runners on second and third. The 1-0 pitch. Misses high. Ball 2. Ball 3. Not many places to go here as the catcher Preston Lewis waits on deck. Runners on first and second and third with 1 out. We'll get it right here in a minute. A lot happened on that last play. We want to make sure we have it right. The 3-0 pitch. That one's in on the inside corner for a called strike. 3-1 now the count to Weston Thompson. Four errors in the ball game by the Eagle defense. The infield on the grass for the Eagles. The 3-1 pitch, fisted out to the mound. Grooms drops it. He'll make the only play to first base in time to get Weston Thompson. No one able to score, but opportunities like that there, you just hate for opportunities and mistakes that can be made. Grooms benefits there as it was a soft hit to the mound. So the play is 1-3 on the putout to retire Thompson for out number 2. Runners stay at second and third, and in steps Preston Lewis, the catcher. He's 0 for 2 in the ballgame. Reached on an error in the second was left stranded on base and then flew out to left field in the fourth. The first pitch to Lewis, fly ball into shallow center field. Devin Peterson will come in, call off Rainey in right field, and make the catch for out number 3. So after all that, the Eagles get out of it, only giving up 1 run when they had the bases loaded there in the inning. A 1 run on 2 hits, 1 error, and 2 runners left on base. After 4.5, Heath leads it 4-0 over your Georgetown Eagles. Eagle baseball continues in a moment. We go to the bottom of the 5th inning. The Eagles will bring up the 5, 6, and 7 hitters, Fluid, Ball, and Seaman. Landon Ammerman on for his 5th inning of work. 53 pitches thrown through 4. He struck out 7 the first pitch, up and in for ball 1 to Fluid. Fluid 0 for 0 in the ball game. Back in the 2nd inning, was hit by a pitch and left stranded. The 1-0 pitch, swing and a miss, strike 1. 1-1 to count now to the junior first baseman, David Fluid. Talent ball, Reese Seaman due up. The 1-1 pitch, slap foul down the third baseline, out of play. And a 1-ball, 2-strike count to Fluid as Ammerman continues to work. Here into the bottom of the 5th for the Heath Hawks. 6'1" junior lefty. The 1-2 pitch just misses outside, ball 2. 2-2 the count to David Fluid. Ammerman from the windup, the 2-2 pitch. That one misses way outside, now a full count to the first baseman, David Fluid. Fluid in from the left side, the lefty-lefty matchup, the full count payoff pitch. And a ball popped up into shallow center field. The second baseman will drift back about 3 steps onto the grass. And Cooley will make the catch for out number 1. P4 in the book to record the out of Fluid. And that'll bring up the second baseman, number 2, Talon Ball. He's 0 for 1 in the ball game. Struck out swinging back in the 2nd inning. Steps in here with the bases empty. And 1 out in the bottom of the 5th. The first pitch from Ammerman. In there for a called strike. 0-1 the count to Ball. Ball back in from the right side. Ammerman looks in, gets the sign. The 0-1 pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 2. Ball back in, the 0-2 pitch from Ammerman. Fly ball hit out into right field. In comes Barkley, and he'll make the catch for out number 2. F9 in the book to retire Talon Ball. And here comes the designated hitter, number 13, Reese Seaman. He's 0 for 1 in the ball game. Grounded out to the second baseman back in the 2nd inning. Steps in here, 0 for 1 in the game, here in the bottom of the fifth with the bases empty and 2 outs. Seaman from the left side steps in for the lefty-lefty matchup. To Ammerman's first pitch. Fouled off back to the screen by Seaman. 0-1 the count for the designated hitter. Ammerman from the windup, the 0-1 pitch. Off-speed breaker, swing and a miss, strike 2, 0-2 the count. Seaman back in for the left side. The 0-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. The 8th strikeout of the ball game for Ammerman. And the Eagles go in order here in the bottom of the fifth. No runs, no hits, no errors. Nobody left on base. After 5 complete, Heath Hawks 4, Georgetown Eagles nothing. Eagle baseball continues in just a moment. Back here at Eagle Field, we go to the top of the 6th inning. The Heath Hawks, 4 runs on 5 hits, no errors. The Eagles, no runs, no hits, 4 errors.
Jaden Moore.
As the top of the lineup comes back up for the Hawks here at the top of the 6th. The 1, 2, and 3 hitters. And Jabin Moore steps in. He's 0 for 2 in the ball game. 2 ground outs and a base on ball. Pops up the first pitch. Back out of play for strike 1. Groom's on for his 3rd inning of work in relief. 40 pitches thrown through 2 innings. He's allowed 3 hits, walks 4, 1 run, 1 wild pitch. The 0-1 pitch misses for ball 1. Evens up the count at 1-1 to the shortstop, Moore. Tyson Barkley, Caleb Huber also due up. As Grooms hops this one in about 3 feet short for ball number 2. 2-1 the count. To the leadoff man, Moore. Grooms from the windup. The 2-1 pitch. Just inside as Moore turned to avoid being hit. Now a 3-1 count to the leadoff shortstop. Grooms from the first base side of the rubber in the windup. The 3-1 pitch. Just misses for ball 4. Oh, a leadoff walk to the Heath Hawks. Start the 6th inning. That's the 5th walk issued by Grooms in his 3rd inning of work. And here comes Coach Vieira. It'll be a pitching change. We'll take a quick timeout. Come back with the call to the bullpen. Eagle Baseball continues on the SHN Network and here in just a minute. then. Boy, your call to the bullpen, the Eagles will bring on a senior right-hander, 6'4", 165, number 1, Cooper Ashby, will come in for relief for the Eagles here in the top of the 6th inning. Ashby, the tall right-hander, will come in here to face the number 2 hitter in the Heath Hawk lineup, Tyson Barkley. Barkley is 1 for 2 in the ball game, a single and left stranded in the first, grounded out in the third, walked and left stranded in the fourth.
Tyson Barkley.
Barkley will step in from the right side with no outs and a runner at first base. The leadoff walk to Jabin Moore. As Grooms leaves with 2+ innings in the ball game. 45 pitches thrown. First pitch from Ashby misses low and outside, ball 1. In 2+ innings, Grooms allowed 1 run on 3 hits, walked 5, 1 wild pitch. Responsible for the runner, Jabin Moore down at first base. Ashby will throw over. Moore will dive back in safely there. Ashby from the stretch, the 1-0 pitch. Inside for ball 2. 2-0 the count to Tyson Barkley. On deck, the first baseman, Caleb Hoover. He's 1 for 3 in the ball game, a triple and a run scored in the third for Hoover. The big hitter for the Hawks waits on deck with no outs here. A runner on first, 2-0 count to Tyson Barkley. Ashby, the 2-0 pitch, runner off and stealing, the throw down. The tag by Holly not in time, the stolen base by Moore. So now a runner in scoring position with no outs. It's a called strike, so the count 2-1 to Barkley. So a 2-1 count to the right fielder, Tyson Barkley, with a runner in scoring position and no outs here in the top of the 6th. Ashby comes set in the stretch, a look back at second base. The 2-1 pitch, nope. Ashby a late turn back towards second base. No throw. Jabin Moore back in safely standing. 2-1 the count to Barkley. No outs. Runner at second here in the top of the 6th, trailing by 4. Heath leads it over the Eagles. Ashby a look back at second. The 2-1 pitch. Fly ball. Back out of play on the right side. The count goes even now at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Barkley back in from the left side, or from the right side. The 2-2 count as Ashby comes set in the stretch. The 2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. Herrera will throw down to first base to Fluid to complete the strikeout on the drop third strike for out number 1. So Ashby comes in, gets the strikeout. 2-3 on the throwdown for the putout of Barkley. Moore will stay put at second base, now 1 out in the inning. First strikeout for Ashby as Caleb Hoover, the lefty, steps in. 1 for 3 in the ball game. A runner at second, 1 out here in the top of the 6th. Ashby's first pitch to Hoover. Up and away, ball 1. Brady Lattisaw, the left fielder, on deck for the Hawks. Ashby from the stretch comes set to look back at second base. The 1-0 pitch stays high, ball 2. 2-0 the count to the left-handed hitting first baseman, Caleb Hoover. Ashby gets the sign he wants, comes set in the stretch. The 2-0 pitch, 3-0 pitch, swing and a miss, strike 1. Or 2-0 pitch there. Now it's a 2-1 count. Two balls and a strike to Hoover. 1 out and a runner at second here in the top of the 6th. Hoover backhand from the left side, all the way back to the back of the batter's box. Closest to the catcher, Herrera. Close in on the inside stripe of the box. Ashby comes set. He'll take a look back at Moore at second base. Now the 2-1 pitch. Fly ball back out of play down the third baseline, and the count evens out at 2 balls and 2 strikes to Hoover. Ladisall waits on deck for the Hawks. 4 runs, 5 hits, no errors for the Hawks. No runs, no hits, 4 errors for the Eagles. Ashby a long look in, gets a sign from Herrera, now comes set in the stretch. First base side of the rubber. The 2-2 pitch, low and inside. Nice play by Herrera to keep it from going past him. But the count goes full to Hoover now. 3 balls and 2 strikes with the 1 out. And the runner Moore down at second base. Hoover back up for the left side. Ashby comes set in the stretch. The payoff pitch. Up and away, ball 4. He lost him, and now runners on first and second. With 1 out, Brady Ladisall coming up. First walk issued by Ashby. 7th walk of the night by Georgetown pitching. Brady Ladisall will step in. He's 0 for 1 in the ball game. Flew out to right in the first inning. Sack fly RBI in the 3rd. Walked and scored a run in the 5th. Steps in here with runners on first and second and 1 out. The first pitch. Low and away, ball 1. Ashby comes set. Ladisall ready from the right side. The 1-0 pitch. Ball popped back out of play. Evens the count at 1 ball and 1 strike as it bounces off the top of the clamshell here at Eagle Field. In case you want to come join us tomorrow, Georgetown High School at 2211 North Austin Avenue, Georgetown, Texas. Your Eagles will play at 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. here in the Central Texas First Pitch Classic. Ashby comes set, the 1-1 pitch. Fly ball back out of play down the first baseline, and Ashby ahead in the count now. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Ladisall. Hunter Bullen on deck for the Hawks. Eagles would like a ground ball double play here to get out of trouble in the top of the 6th. Ashby comes set. The 1-2 pitch fouled off back to the screen. Ladisall stays alive, 1-2. 1-2 the count to Ladisall. Runners at first and second. Moore leads off second, Hoover off first. Ashby a look back to second base. The 1-2 pitch. Misses outside, ball 2, count even. 2 balls and 2 strikes now to Ladisall. Ladisall back in from the right side, ready to go. Ashby comes set in the stretch. The 2-2 pitch. Line drive down the first baseline. Off the dugout fence. Ladisall stays alive in the at-bat. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Two balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. Here in the top of the 6th, the Hawks lead it by 4, trying to do more damage with runners on first and second. Ashby comes set, the 2-2 pitch. Fly ball into the right, down the right field line. Rainey on a long run. He'll make the catch in foul territory. He'll come up throwing. The throw will be cut by Holly. A good job there by Jackson Rainey to chase that one down in foul territory for out number 2. F9 in the book. A good battle there between Ashby and Ladisall. Ashby will win that one for out number 2, and that'll bring up the third baseman, Hunter Bullen. He's 1 for 2 in the ball game. Walked and scored a run in the second. Reached on an error in the third. Singled and left stranded at third in the 5th inning. Steps in here with 2 outs and runners on first and second. Ashby, the righty, works on the first base side of the rubber in the stretch as Bullen steps in from the left side. First pitch to Bullen. Misses low inside, ball 1. Ashby comes set. Take a peek back at second base at Moore. Now the 1-0 pitch. Sails high, ball 2, 2-0 the count now. If Bullen can reach base, Drew Smith, the center fielder, due up next for the Hawks here in the top of the 6th. In the bottom of the 6th, the Eagles will bring up the 8, 9, and 1 hitters in the lineup, down to their last 6 outs to make a comeback here. Ashby comes set in the stretch. The 2-0 pitch. Big swing and a miss for strike 1. 2-1 the count to Hunter Bullen, the third baseman. Moore leads off first. Moore leads off second. Hoover off first as Ashby comes set. The 2-1 pitch. Stays high. 3-1 now the count. To Bullen with Drew Smith waiting on deck. 2 outs and runners at first and second. 1 p.m. ball game tomorrow. Fort Bend Clements Rangers will take on your Eagles at 1 p.m. Then the Corpus Christi Carroll Tigers at 7 p.m. Come join us out here at the ballpark. Beautiful weekend for baseball. The 3-1 pitch driven into left field. Tate Ritchie on the run. Can't get to it. It takes a bounce. Ritchie up throwing. The throw all the way to the plate to Herrera, and he can't glove the throw. And Moore slides in under it. Another mistake here for this Eagle defense as Herrera had Moore easily out if he holds on to that one and applies the tag. But the 2-out single scores a run for the Hawks, and they lead it 5-0. Now over your Eagles. They'll charge an error on that. A great throw from Tate Ritchie in left field.
Straight up, Drew. Let's go.
Hunter Bullen will advance to second on the throw. Hoover all the way around to third. As Moore scores from second base. First pitch. Drew Smith is low for ball 1. Well, Ashby could have got out of the inning without any trouble. But it dropped it. Ball at home plate by Herrera. Allows Moore to slide in safely for the first run of the inning. The 1-0 pitch is up and in. Ball 2. Hoover down at third. Bullen down at second. 2-0 the count to Drew Smith, the center fielder. He's 1 for 3 on the night. 2-0 pitch, sails high, 3-0 the count. Smith back in from the right side, Ashby from the windup. The 3-0 pitch. Misses inside, ball 4, a 4-pitch walk to load the bases here with 2 outs. Second walk issued by Ashby on in relief here in the top of the 6th. And up comes the second baseman, Alex Cooley. He's 1 for 3 in the ball game. Reached on an error in the second, singled in the fourth, and reached on a fielder's choice in the 5th. Steps in here with 2 outs and the bases loaded. Ashby from the windup. The first pitch popped up, back out of play. 0-1 the count to Cooley. Weston Thompson, the DH, on deck for the Hawks. Should Cooley be able to extend this inning here? 5 runs on the board. On 6 Hawk hits and 5 Georgetown errors. The 0-1 pitch on the bottom half of the zone, called strike 2. 0-2 the count. Ashby from the first base side of the rubber in the windup. The 0-2 pitch. Ground ball out towards second. Talon Ball will charge. The play to first in time. 4-3 on the putout to retire Drew Smith and the Hawks, but not before they pick up 1 run on 1 hit. 1 error. And 2 runners left on base after 5.5 innings. 5-0, Heath leads it over Georgetown. Eagles come up to bat here in just a moment on the SHN Sports Network. To the bottom of the 6th inning. Tate Ritchie to lead it off. The first pitch from Ammerman in there for a called strike. And the music was left on. Coach Beer coming down the line. 0-1 the count to Tate Ritchie. 0 for 1 in the ball game. As Ammerman works his 6th inning here for the Hawks. From the windup, the 0-1 pitch. Outside for ball 1. 1-1 the count now to Tate Ritchie. Grounded out to the pitcher back in the 3rd inning. Leads things off here for the Eagles in the bottom of the 6th. Ammerman from the windup. The 1-1 pitch. Inside corner, called strike 2. 1-2 the count. 65 pitches through 5 innings for Landon Ammerman. He struck out 8, hit 1. The 1-2 pitch, foul back out of play, 1-2 the count. As Tate Ritchie stays alive in the at-bat. A beautiful outing here by Landon Ammerman. No hit the Eagles through 5 innings so far. From the windup, the 1-2 pitch. Ritchie takes that one low and outside for ball 2. 2-2 now the count. To Tate Ritchie, the number 8 hitter in the lineup, Jack Kiki. Waits on deck for the Eagles. The 2-2 pitch. Ball sitting down the right field line, but it'll curl out of or into foul territory for a foul ball. So back to the plate goes Tate Ritchie. The 2-2 count. For the left fielder. The 2-2 pitch from Ammerman. And a ball sent into right field. Barkley will range over and make the catch for out number 1. F9 in the book to retire Ritchie. That'll bring up the number 9 hitter in the lineup, the 3rd baseman, Jack Kiki. He's 0 for 1 in the ball game. Flew out to right field. Back in the 3rd inning. Steps up here with 1 out and the base is empty. The first pitch up and away, ball 1. On deck, the leadoff batter, Devin Peterson, for the Eagles. Ammerman ready to go from the windup. The 1-0 pitch. Fouled off back behind home plate. 1-1 now the count. To the 3rd baseman, Jack Kiki. Kiki back in for the right side. The lefty, Ammerman, from the 3rd base side of the rubber. Gets the sign from the windup. The 1-1 pitch. A ball hit out to short. Fielded on a couple of hops to throw from the shortstop in time to record the out. More to Hoover. 6-3 on the putout to retire Kiki. Now number 2.
Back to the top of the lineup. Center fielder Devin
That'll bring up Devin Peterson with 2 outs and the base is empty here in the bottom of the 6th. Peterson 0 for 2. Struck out twice, both looking here in the ballgame in the 1st and 3rd inning. Steps in here in the bottom of the 6th. Ammerman, the lefty from the windup. The first pitch to Peterson. Catches the outside corner for a called strike. 0-1 the count. Ammerman gets the sign, the 0-1 pitch. That one too far outside. 1-1. Now the count to the senior center fielder, Devin Peterson. Luke Hawley waits on deck. Should Peterson be able to extend the inning and reach base? The 1-1 pitch from Ammerman. Up and away, ball 2. 2-1 the count. Peterson takes his time. Steps back in the box from the right side. Gets set. Ammerman from the windup. The 2-1 pitch. Fouled off, back off the backstop for strike 2, and the count evens up. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Peterson. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs here in the bottom of the 6th. Devin Peterson, the senior center fielder, steps back in. Ammerman ready to go from the windup. The 2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3, and the Eagles go in order again here in the bottom of the 6th inning. No runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left on. Through 6 innings, 5-0. Heath leads it over Georgetown. Eagle baseball continues in just a moment. Back here for the top of the 7th inning. The Hawks will bring up the 8-9-1 hitters to face Cooper Ashby in his 2nd inning of relief. Weston Thompson, Preston Lewis, and Jabin Moore due up for the Hawks. Ashby from the first base side of the rubber works from the windup. The first pitch misses outside to Thompson for ball 1. Thompson 0 for 2 in the ballgame. Reached on a fielder's choice and scored a run in the 2nd. Reached on a base on balls in the 4th. Grounded out to the pitcher back in the 5th. Takes the 2nd pitch for a called strike. 1-1 the count now. To Weston Thompson, the designated hitter. Ashby from the windup. The 1-1 pitch. Popped up down the first baseline, but it'll curl out of play off the top of the first base dugout. And Ashby ahead in the count. 1 ball and 2 strikes. To the designated hitter, Weston Moore. The catcher, Preston Lewis, on deck for the Hawks. The 1-2 pitch fouled off down the first baseline. Weston Thompson battles to stay alive. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Here in the top of the 7th inning. Ashby gets the sign from Herrera. From the windup, the 1-2 pitch. Inside, almost hits him. Thompson gets out of the way, and the count evens up at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Thompson back in from the right side. Ashby from the windup gets the sign. The 2-2 pitch. Foul or ball hit down the third baseline. Stays fair. Kiki on the run. Throws across the diamond. But not going to get Weston Thompson. An infield single. The 7th hit of the ball game for the Hawks. 2nd hit allowed by Ashby. As the leadoff man aboard again here for the Hawks. And in steps Preston Lewis, the catcher. He's 0 for 3 in the ball game. Reached on an error in the second and flew out to left in the fourth and center field in the fifth. Thompson will lead off first base, being held on by Fluid as Preston Lewis steps in from the left side or the right side. Ashby back now to the stretch. Comes set. The first pitch to Lewis. Swing and a miss. Strike one. And now the runner in a jam caught halfway between the bag, and he'll go back as Herrera threw in front of him to not let him get the bag. So Weston Thompson returns to the bag. But now Preston Lewis behind on the count. No balls and 1 strike. Ashby will come set in the stretch. Look at first. The 0-1 pitch. Lewis fouls it off to the backstop. 0-2 now the count. Ashby way ahead of the catcher Lewis. The leadoff man, Jabin Moore, on deck for the Hawks. Here in the top of the 7th inning. Heath leads it 5-0. 5 runs, 7 hits, no errors for the Hawks. No runs, no hits, 5 errors for your Eagles. Thompson leads off first base. Fluid holds him on there. Ashby comes set in the stretch. The 0-2 pitch. The runner's off. Herrera's throw down to Luke Colley. The tag applied, and bang, bang, caught stealing. 2-6 on the caught stealing by Herrera. And the count goes to 1-2 with 1 out now, and the base is empty. Nice throw down by Herrera. Nice tag by Luke Colley. 1-2 pitch. Ball hit out. Shortstop Holly lays out for it. Gets a glove on it to knock it down from the outfield. And Preston Lewis will reach on an infield single, the 8th hit of the ball game for the Hawks. So the Hawks have a 1-out base runner. Good piece of hitting there by Lewis. Just hit it deep into the hole. And
Lineup, number 14, Jabin Moore.
Number 3, Austin Owens comes in to run for the courtesy run for the catcher, Preston Lewis. Jabin Moore steps in for the right side, takes the first pitch low for ball 1. Moore is 0 for 2 in the ball game, grounded out twice and has walked twice. Scored a run, stole 1 base. Steps in here for his 5th plate appearance. Owens leads off first, held on by Fluid. Throw over to first base. Owens dives back in safely. Want to know the count to Jabin Moore. Ashby comes set. The 1-0 pitch. In there for a called strike. 1-1 now the count. Ashby will come set in the stretch. The wind is picked up there, left to right in the outfield. The 1-1 pitch, slap foul down the first baseline. The first base coach moves out of the way on that hot one. And now the count, 1 ball and 2 strikes to Jabin Moore, the shortstop. 1 out here in the top of the 7th. Owens leads off. A throw over to first base as Owens dives back in safely. 1-2 the count to Jabin Moore with 1 out and a runner at first here in the top of the 7th. Owens, the courtesy runner, leads off. The 1-2 pitch. Ball poked out. Foul down the first baseline. Curls out of play. Jabin Moore does a good job of staying alive in the at-bat. 1 ball and 2 strikes. On deck, Tyson Barkley, the right fielder. Ashby comes set in the stretch. The 1-2 pitch, fouled off, back to the screen. Moore stays alive. 1 ball, 2 strikes with 1 out. The runner at first. Ashby comes set in the stretch. Owens leads off. The 1-2 pitch. And the ball sent down the right field line, but it'll curl back out of play. And Javen Moore continues to do battle here with Cooper Ashby in the top of the 7th. The next pitch will be the 7th of the at-bat. The count 1 ball and 2 strikes. As Moore has fouled the last 3 off to stay alive in the at-bat. Ashby gets the sign and comes set in the stretch. The 1-2 pitch. And that will hit him. Now runners on first and second with 1 out. Owens will move up to second. First batter hit by a pitch by Ashby. Javen Moore down to first base on the hit by pitch. He's reached base. The last 3 plate appearances, 2 walks and a hit by pitch, and in steps Tyson Barkley. He's 1 for 3. Singled in the first, left stranded. Grounded out in the third, walked in the fourth and left stranded, and struck out swinging in the 6th. The first pitch to Barkley, outside corner, called strike 1. Barkley was the first batter Ashby faced in relief in the top of the 6th. He struck him out. Herrera threw down to Fluid at first. On the drop, third strike for the out. The 0-1 count now as Ashby comes set in the stretch. Owens off second. The 0-1 pitch fouled off the backstop. 0-2, now the count to Tyson Barkley. Ashby way ahead here. 1 out and runners on first and second for the Hawks here in the top of the 7th. They try to grow their lead. They lead it 5-0. 5 runs on 8 hits, no errors. Eagles no hit through 6 innings. They have 1 more inning to go here in the bottom of the 7th to make some noise. Ashby comes set. The 0-2 pitch. Low and outside. Herrera makes the scoop. He'll throw down to third, and a good tag by Kiki, but not in time as he tagged Owens on the backside. So the throw closer back might have got him, but that pitch going off the gear from Herrera, the throw down not in time, and both runners will advance. So now a 1 ball, 2 strike count to Tyson Barkley with runners on second and third. And 1 out here in the top of the 7th. Runners advance on the wild pitch, and now a 1-2 count to Tyson Barkley. The corner's in for the Eagles on the edge of the grass, and now Barkley will take a time and step out and reset. The 1-2 pitch, ground ball out to short. Holly up with it, will throw behind the runner at third base, and he got him. What a play there by Luke Holly to throw behind the runner, Austin Owings. He got too far off, and Holly had come up to the edge of the grass, filled it, threw it to Jack Kiki at third base, so it'll go 6-5 on the putout to tag Owens out for out number 2, and now runners at first and second with 2 outs, so a good play there by Luke Holly and Jack Kiki. Barkley will reach on the fielder's choice. So runners on first and second for Caleb Hoover. Lefty steps in. Ashby comes set from the stretch. The first pitch. Fly ball out into left field. Tate Ritchie charges in, and he'll make the catch for out number 3. And the Eagles get out of the inning with no runs given up. No runs on 2 hits. No errors and 2 runners left on after 6.5 innings. It's 5-0. Heath leads it over Georgetown. Georgetown down to their final 3 outs to come back here against the Hawks. Come back and join us here in just a couple of minutes on the SHN Sports Network. go to the bottom of the 7th inning. The Eagles will bring up the 2, 3, and 4 hitters. Holly, Herrera, and Rainey 2 up. Against the lefty, Landon Ammerman. Ammerman on. Try to throw the complete game shutout. No hitter. So far, the Eagles hitless through 6. From the windup, the first pitch to Holly. The lower half of the zone called strike 1. Holly 0 for 2 in the ball game. Strikeout and a flyout. The 0-1 pitch, a swing and a miss, strike 2. Ammerman, 80 pitches through 6 innings. As he starts the bottom of the 7th here. Ahead in the count, 0-2 to Holly. The 0-2 pitch. Misses outside for ball 1. 1-2 the count to the second base, or the shortstop, Luke Holly. The 1-2 pitch. Ground ball hit out towards short, a short chopper, the shortstop. Moore has to charge, does, but can't get to it, and the infield single breaks up the no-hitter for the Eagles and Landon Ammerman, and that'll be it. Coach Harvey left him in to try to get the no-hitter, and that's broken up on the infield single. What an effort there by Luke Holly to beat it out. And that'll be it for Landon Ammerman. We'll take a timeout, and this call to the bullpen. Eagle baseball continues in a minute. Call to the bullpen as Landon Ammerman leaves the ball game. 84 pitches thrown through 6+ innings. Struck out 9, allowed 1 hit, hit 1 with a pitch. Leaves the ball game with the runner on first and 1 out here in the, or no outs, here in the bottom of the 7th. And on comes number 20, Maddox Webb, the righty. First pitch misses inside to the, oh, this is going to be a pinch hitter for the Eagles. It's going to be Justin Soto, the 5'10", 170-pound junior from the right side. Soto steps in, the 1-0 pitch from Webb. Low gets past the catcher, Lewis, and that'll allow Luke Holly to move up to second base. So a wild pitch by Webb allows the runner Holly to move up to second base. Two balls, no strikes to Soto. Webb works out of the stretch with the base runner on second and no outs. The 2-0 pitch from Webb. Up and in, ball 3. 3-0 the count. To Justin Soto, the pinch hitter, here in the number 3 slot for Reese Herrera. Webb in the stretch, comes set. Holly leads off second. The 3-0 pitch. In there for a called strike. 3-1 now the count. Justin Soto. Webb with the long look in. Gets the sign from Lewis. Now he'll step off. Now Webb back on the rubber. Comes set. Look back at second. The 3-1 pitch, and that hits him. So the first two men reach base here in the bottom of the seventh for the Eagles. An infield single. And then a hit by pitch by Maddox Webb. Webb, the 6-foot, 175-pound junior. A right-handed throwing pitcher. Comes in. Has a wild pitch and a hit by pitch. Now runners on first and second with no outs for the Georgetown Eagles. And in steps Jackson Rainey. He's 0 for 2 in the ballgame. Strikeout and a ground out. Steps in here from the left side with no outs and runners on first and second. Webb will come set in the stretch. A glance back at second base. The first pitch to Rainey. Stays high for ball one. So the Eagles trying to make some noise here in the bottom of the seventh. First two men aboard. An infield single by Holly to chase the starter, Ammerman. And then a hit by pitch of Justin Soto by the relief pitcher, Webb. The 1-0 pitch to Rainey. Stays high. Ball two. Webb stays in the stretch. Holly leads off second. Soto leads off first. Now Webb will step off and now reset himself on the rubber. Works on the first base side of the rubber in the stretch. A long look into Lewis. Gets the sign and comes set. Look back at second base. The 2-0 pitch. And Rainey called for time. He's awarded it. And as Webb sails that one over the catcher, Lewis, to the backstop. But no pitch there, so the count stays 2 balls and no strikes. To the right fielder, Jackson Rainey. David Flewitt, the first baseman, on deck. Webb comes set, a 2-0 pitch to Rainey. It's in there for a called strike. 2 balls and a strike to the left-handed hitting Jackson Rainey. Webb looks in, gets the sign and comes set. Soto off first, Holly off second. A look back at second by Webb. The 2-1 pitch. That almost hit Rainey. He gets out of the way, and now a 3-1 count to Jackson Rainey. If he can reach base, it'll be bases loaded, no outs here in the bottom of the seventh. The Eagles trying to make some noise. 3-1 the count to Jackson Rainey. Webb comes set. The 3-1 pitch. Base hit. No, shortstop gloves it to play to second in time. What a play by the shortstop, Moore. He was moving to his left, dove back to the right, snagged it, and threw out Soto at second base. Rainey reaches first on the fielder's choice. Soto cut down at second, 6-4 on the putout. What a play there by Moore for out number 1. Holly moves up to third base on the fielder's choice as well. And now David Flewitt will step in. He's 0 for 1 in the ballgame. Was hit by a pitch and left stranded in the second. And flew out to the second baseman back in the 5th inning. Flewitt steps in here with runners on the corners and 1 out in the bottom of the 7th. Webb comes set from the stretch. Flewitt takes the first pitch away for ball 1. Webb not getting quite the giving zone. As Ammerman, the starting pitcher, the 1-0 pitch. Outside corner called strike 1. Evens it up at 1-1. Flewitt steps back in from the left side. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out. Runners on the corners. Webb comes set. The 1-1 pitch to Flewitt. Flewitt hits it into left field. It's a base hit, and that'll score the first run of the ballgame for the Eagles. Rainey up to second. The second hit of the ballgame for the Eagles, an RBI single for Flewitt. Scores Holly from third base. So a beautiful piece of hitting there by the lefty Fluid.
Eagles. Number 9.
Rainey up to second base. First run of the ball game across for the Eagles. And now a pinch hitter here for the Georgetown Eagles, number 9. The 6'2", 180-pound junior, Colton Crutchfield, will step in for his at-bat. He'll be the pinch hitter here in the number 6 slot in the lineup for Talon Ball. So Colton Crutchfield, the right-handed hitter, will step in here against Maddox Webb with 1 out and runners on first and second for your Eagles. And 1 out here in the bottom of the 7th. They trail by 4 now. 5-1. The umpire will record everything in the book, and now Crutchfield will step in from the right side here in the bottom of the 7th to pitch hit for ball. Webb comes set. First pitch to Crutchfield. Low for ball 1. Rainey leads off second. Fluid off first. Webb comes set. The 1-0 pitch to Crutchfield. Ball fouled off down the first baseline, out of play. Will even up the count at 1 ball and 1 strike. To Colton Crutchfield, the pinch hitter here in the number 7 slot for Talon Ball in the bottom of the 7th. Reese Seaman, the designated hitter on deck for your Eagles. Here in the bottom of the 7th. Runners on first and second, 1 out, 1 run across on 2 hits. Here at the bottom of the 7th. Webb will come set from the stretch. The 1-1 pitch to Crutchfield. Misses outside, ball 2, 2-1 the count. To the junior pinch hitter, Colton Crutchfield. Fluid leads off first. Rainey off second. Webb comes set in the stretch. The 2-1 pitch. Popped out of play down the first baseline. The count goes even at 2-2. Two balls, 2 strikes to count to Colton Crutchfield with 1 out here in the bottom of the 7th. Rainey off first, Rainey off second, Fluid off first. Maddox Webb, the relief pitcher for the Hawks. Gets the sign from Lewis and comes set in the stretch. A look back at second base, the 2-2 pitch. And that hits him. And now the bases are loaded with 1 out. And so the base is now loaded on the hit by pitch. That's a second batter hit by Webb. Some are saying it went off the handle of the bat. Crutchfield had the elbow guard on, and you hear it crack off of something. They're going to ask the field umpire call. So before I mark up my book here, because I never know what to expect from this exchange, otherwise it's bases loaded with 1 out, and Seaman, the designated hitter, coming up for the Eagles here in the bottom of the 7th. Are they going to call a foul ball and put Crutchfield back at the plate and the runners back at first and second? So Crutchfield is down at first on the hit by pitch. And the bases are full of Eagles with 1 out.
Number 13.
Rainey down to third base. Fluid up to second. And Colton Crutchfield, the pinch hitter, hit by the pitch, goes down to first base. 1 out as Seaman steps in. He's 0 for 2 in the ballgame. A ground out in the second, a strikeout in the 5th. But now another visit from the bullpen, another pitching change for the Hawks. We'll take a timeout, come back with the call to the bullpen in just a minute here on the SHN Sports Network. back here at Eagle Field. We're still in the bottom of the 7th. Second call to the bullpen for the Hawks here in the 7th inning as the number 44, Leighton Nally, comes into pitch. The 5'7", 165-pound senior throws from the right side, faces off against the designated hitter. Seaman in from the left side. The first pitch to Seaman. Skips in there. Low for ball 1. Good job by Lewis to keep it out in front of him. No one could advance as the bases are full of Eagle base runners. 1-0 the count to Reese Seaman. On deck, the left fielder, Tate Ritchie, for the Eagles. 1 out, the bases loaded. 5-1 to score. The Eagles trying to come back here in the bottom of the 7th. The 1-0 pitch from Nally. Low and inside, gets past Lewis, but not able to advance are the Eagles. And Coach Vieira, as you can hear it through the crowd mic, has told Rainey from the get-go, your run means nothing. That second run really doesn't do much. If he doesn't score and it's an out, it just puts the Eagles in a bigger hole. So a good job to stay there. 2-0 the count to Reese Seaman here. So the second pitching change of the inning for the Hawks. And Nally behind. 2 balls and no strikes. The 2-0 pitch. Seaman fouls it off himself. Back behind home plate. 2 balls and a strike the count now to the designated hitter with Tate Ritchie on deck. 1 out. The bases loaded full of Eagles here. 1 run on 2 hits here in the bottom of the 7th to cut the lead to 4. All the runners take lead. Nally comes set in the stretch. The 2-1 pitch. And it hits Reese Seaman, and there's the second run of the inning. The third batter hit by a pitch in the inning by Hawk pitchers. And that'll score Jackson Rainey from third base and cut it to a 3-run deficit. 5-2 your score. David Flewitt up to third base. Colton Crutchfield up to second. Reese Seaman down to first on the hit by pitch. And Tate Ritchie will come into bat here from the right side. He's 0 for 2 in the ball game. A ground out and a fly ball to right field back at the 6th inning. As he steps in here, Nally comes set. The first pitch, fly ball down the right field line, curls out of play. And Tate Ritchie behind in the count. No balls and 1 strike. 1 out, the bases still loaded for the Eagles. 5-2 the score. Georgetown's cut into this 5-run lead by 2 and still has some threatening going on here with the bases loaded, just 1 out. Ritchie back in. Nally comes set. The 0-1 pitch. Low and outside. Preston Lewis, a great job sliding out on the his knee guards and blocking that off the chest protector. 1-1 now the count to Ritchie. On deck, number 20, Jack Kiki, I believe, is in on deck circle, unless it's another pinch hitter for this Eagle team. But now the count 1-1. The 1-1 pitch. Fly ball sent into right center field. Giving chase is the right fielder. He'll make the catch. Tagging up from third is Flewitt. He'll easily score. The third run of the inning, an RBI sac fly for Tate Ritchie. Cuts it to a 2-run deficit. Flewitt scores from third. Colton Crutchfield tags up and moves up to third. Reese Seaman stays put at first base. So you have runners at the corners with 2 outs. It'll be F9 in the book as Barkley ran that one down deep into right center field. A nice play there by Barkley for out number 2. But a beautiful sac fly RBI for Tate Ritchie. And in steps Jack Kiki. Kiki 0 for 2 in the ball game. A ground out and a fly out as well. Runners at the corners with 2 outs, trailing by 2, 5-3. Nally comes set. The first pitch to Kiki. Low and in the turf for ball 1. On deck, Devin Peterson, the center fielder. Should Kiki be able to extend the inning? Still an open base here. So Nally gets in trouble. He could put one on and not hurt them. 1-0 count. The 1-0 pitch. Ball hit into center field. Line drive, sinker. It's going to drop. That'll score a run. Crutchfield up to second. He's safe under the tag at second base. He overran the bag and lucky to get back as the center fielder Schmidt threw in behind him. But now it's a 1-run ball game as Colton Crutchfield scored from third base on the base hit from Kiki. And the Eagles trail by 1, 5-4. Seaman safe at second base on a close one. A base hit RBI single by Kiki. We go to the top of the lineup. And now another pitching change for the Hawks. We'll take the timeout, the call to the bullpen when we come back. Eagle baseball continues on the SHN Network after this. back in action here as Colton Flowers comes on to pitch. Tried to gather some information on him. He's not on the roster that was sent in by Rockwall before this tournament started. And so a right-handed pitcher, Colton Flowers, comes in to face Devin Peterson. The first pitch, low and outside, ball one. The ninth batter of the inning for the Eagles. 4 runs across. They trail by 1. The tying run at second base, and Reese Seaman. The 1-0 pitch from Flowers in there for a called strike. 1-1 to count to Devin Peterson. Flowers from the stretch with runners on first and second and 2 outs. The 1-1 pitch to Devin Peterson. Swing and a miss. He chased it down in the turf, and now behind in the count, 1 ball and 2 strike is Devin Peterson. One ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs here in the bottom of the 7th. The tying run for the Eagles down at second, the winning run at first. Flowers comes set, the 1-2 pitch. Low and outside, down in the turf. Seaman will stay put at second base. The count is 2-2 now to the senior center fielder, Devin Peterson. Luke Hawley waits on deck. Should Peterson be able to extend the ball game? 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Runners on first and second. Seaman leads off second. Jack Kiki leads off first. Flowers comes set, the 2-2 pitch. Outside corner, called strike 3 for the 4th time in the ball game. Devin Peterson strikes out to end the ball game. 5-4, the Hawks win it in 7 innings. 5-0 going into the bottom of the 7th. The Eagles put up 4 runs on 2 hits. They had 3 batters hit by a pitch. A sac fly and a couple of key hits there by the Eagles. Luke Hawley started it. Jack Kiki kept it alive. But Flowers comes in to shut the door with a strikeout of Devin Peterson to end the ball game. 5-4 here in the bottom of the 7th inning. We'll take a quick timeout, come back and wrap it up. Eagle baseball continues in a moment. Back here live at Eagle Field on Georgetown High School's campus. A good ball game here. The Eagles hitless through 6 innings. They go to the bottom of the 7th. Landon Ammerman, the lefty, had pitched a gem of a ball game, came in with no hitting. The Eagles threw 6 and gave up a lead-off single to Luke Hawley, an infield single. He comes out of the ball game, had thrown 84 pitches, allowing just 1 hit, striking out 9 in 6+ innings, and hitting 1 batter. And then it came in Maddox Webb. He faced off against Justin Soto, hit him with a pitch, and then a fielder's choice got Soto out at second, but allowed Jackson Rainey to reach base. Flew singled to left field, scored a run for the Eagles. And then Colton Crutchfield was hit by a pitch. It scored another run for the Eagles, and the Eagles tried to mount a comeback. They had it 5-4 on 3 hits, and then in came Colton Flowers, and he threw 5 pitches to Devin Peterson and struck him out looking for the last out of the ball game. And the Eagles fall 5-4 to the Rockwall Heath Hawks here in game number 2 of this first pitch classic here in Georgetown, Texas. The Hawks end the night 5 runs on 3 hits, 5 errors on the Eagle defense. They leave 12 runners on base. The Eagles score 4 runs on 3 hits, no errors on the Hawks, and they only left 2 runners on. 3 runners on in the ball game, as Fluitt was left after being hit by the pitch early in the ball game. The Eagles go to 1-1 on the year, and tomorrow come back at 1 p.m. to take on the Fort Bend Clements Rangers, and then at 7 p.m. to take on the Corpus Christi Carroll Tigers in more action here live at Eagle Field tomorrow in this Central Texas First Pitch Classic. The tournament's presented by BN Sports, Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, and Easton Sports. Thanks for joining us tonight. Come out and join us tomorrow at 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. Saturday at 2 and 4:30. The Eagles, 4 more games to go here this weekend in the First Pitch Classic, and we'll bring them all to you live here on the SHN Sports Network. First Responder Broadcasting, bringing you all Georgetown Eagle Boys baseball for this season. Thanks for joining us today. We'll sign off for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow, 12:45 pregame, 1 o'clock first pitch, when the Eagles take on the Rangers from Fort Bend Clements. Thanks for joining us tonight, and have a good evening. And remember, it doesn't cost you a dime to be kind. Have a good night, everybody.